Hello everybody, welcome back to another F1 Fantasy video, and well, as you can see from the title, I'm going to be talking about the fantasy results for Baku, the new good and bad drivers list following the Baku race and how everyone did. I'll be then talking about who you should pick for the Miami Fantasy F1 weekend, and then I'll talk about if any chips are worth being used. Then I'll look at my league, and as per usual, link in the description. Follow my Twitter, like and subscribe, and hey, let's get straight into it. Right, so first off, I'm going to change it around a little bit. I'm going to start with the constructors you should choose. Now, there's no real reason why I'm doing this. I just felt like doing it this way. So first up, we have Red Bull, 27.6 million, gone up 0.1 mil since Baku, 56% picked, 379 season points, 95 points in Saudi Arabia, 78 points in Bahrain, 98 points in Australia, and 108 points in Azerbaijan. The reason for the Azerbaijan points being higher is because of the sprint race, so don't let that fool you into thinking Red Bull did any better, because hey, they are doing terrible, only getting 1-2s all these races. Like, they should really strive to do better, not gonna lie. But in all seriousness, Red Bull are dominant car, they're getting 1-2s, they seem to have good reliability, so there's no real reason not to pick them, especially when they're going up and up and up. Like, let's have a look at the points for Azerbaijan. Sprint fastest lap, 5 points. Sprint positions gained, 1 point. Sprint overtakes, 3 points. Race positions, 43. Qualifying positions, 17. Sprint positions, 14. Both drivers Q3, 10. Race position gains, 2. Fastest pit stop, 10. Race overtake bonuses, 3. Wow, you're going to get nothing like that with any other team, considering, as I move on to the next team, Aston Martin, who 75% have picked, they don't even have half of what Red Bull have in points. 184, 7 million, gone up 0.1 million now, but my word. Now, don't get me wrong, Aston Martin have been doing fantastic. There's a reason they're second highest in their season performance. Now, I think what's starting to happen, which I was scared was going to happen, is Aston Martin will start to drop off, I believe. It's like Ferrari last year. I don't think they'll be able to handle it. I'm hoping they do, of course, because I love seeing Alonso do well, and I'm actually starting to like Stroll quite a bit. So I really hope they can keep this form. But for now, and I'd say at least till summer, there's no real reason to get rid of Aston Martin. These are still your second choice. Azerbaijan, they got 55 points. Same points as in Australia. It's a no-brainer. Mercedes, 25.1 million. They've stayed the same price since Baku. 170 points. 12% picked. Not a lot picked from them. I'm not surprised. Now, they've been consistent, getting 40-odd points. Close to 50 in Azerbaijan. But again, they're just the third best car you can pick out of all of them for now. I'd even put them fourth, maybe, because of the Ferrari looking like it's maybe upping itself a little bit, but that might just be because of the Baku racetrack suits the Ferrari more. But for 25.1 million, it's not good enough. And when you can get a Ferrari or an Aston Martin for better, there's no real reason not to. Up next is the Ferraris, and well, after that stinker in Australia getting 3 points, let's take a look at this. Minus 20 race not classified, minus 7 points, 10 qualifying positions, 10 both drivers Q3, and 10 race overtake bonus. It's not looking good for them. Now, obviously, they had a good Azerbaijan, 63 points, the second most points for a team in Baku. But 22.2 million. 25% pick, that's all right. To be fair, Ferrari, I'm not too worried if someone picks Ferrari, because I can understand. Because realistically, I believe Ferrari are going to be the team that you move over to once Aston Martin drop off in form. But it's not yet. Please do not pick Ferrari yet. There's still no reason to move from Aston Martin to Ferrari. So they're still on my bad list. We head on to the midfield teams of Alpine, who got 25 points in Azerbaijan. That was very good from them. We have Haas, who got 17 points in Azerbaijan. We've got McLaren, who got 23 points in Azerbaijan. We've got Alfa Romeo, who got minus 10 points because Bottas didn't have the best race, and obviously Zhou did not classify. Again, what is it with me and cursed drivers always DNFing? Then Alpha Tauri, minus 23. Ooh, okay. I won't complain as much. AlphaTauri, please steer clear, everyone. They are a team. Them and McLaren are just the worst picks you can pick at the minute. And then Williams at the bottom, minus 15, again them as well. It was just because of the sprint not classified, because obviously Logan didn't even bloody start it. But yeah, I believe that's how the constructors line up and how many points they scored in Baku. Again, constructors are a bit boring because realistically it's still Red Bull, Aston Martin, the main ones. Ferrari, I'm starting to consider because they're cheaper than Mercedes and they look like they're doing better than Mercedes at the minute, considering they had a really bad start. But Ferrari, I'd happily take them, so I'm putting them into the good list for now. So yeah, let's move on to the drivers. Right, and then funnily enough, we've got a new top driver on season points. Now, you would have believed it. Sergio Perez. 46% picked, 177 points. By the way, 46 points is ridiculous. Perez, I would even argue, is better than having Verstappen. Like, say you wanted Ferrari and a cheaper driver, you would keep Perez over Verstappen because he's almost 10 million less. And he's getting more points than Verstappen. What is going on? Can Perez actually go for the championship? I spoke about it in my last video before this video. And I don't know. I'm not gonna get overexcited until the summer break, realistically. But if he's still within, I'd say 30 points of Verstappen by summer, I will be excited because then that's when all of this juicy, like they're no longer teammates. They want to kill each other, sort of shit happens. So I'm excited to see if that happens. Now, I'm really hoping it happens because of how dry the season will be if Verstappen just runs away with it. But 61 points at Azerbaijan, scored the most points a driver did that weekend. It's a no-brainer. You must have Perez in your team. Obviously, we get on to Verstappen, who only scored 37 points. Now, obviously, he got that third in the sprint race because he had a bit of a tangle with George Russell. He's still 64% picked. That's ridiculous considering I don't know what the other 36% are doing, not gonna lie. Because 169 points this season, he's still gonna get you loads of points. And realistically, if you doubled him or Perez, you're getting the same amount of points. But realistically, the problem with Verstappen is he seems to be getting more consistent, like start first, finish first. You know what I mean? Apart from Saudi Arabia, or start second, finish second. Whereas Perez will like start third in the sprint or whatever, then finish first. So he's getting these bonus position points as well. And that's why he's actually caught up to Verstappen in points, F1 Fantasy. So yeah, Verstappen is still obviously in the good list, but Perez is now the top driver I think everyone should have. On to Alonso. Now, wow, wasn't he swift this weekend?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But basically, 27 points in Baku. Not bad. Again, like I said, he's constantly getting you between 20 to 40 points. For 9.1 million, he's gone up 0.2 since that. 82% picked. Like, basically, everyone in F1 Fantasy has him because he's so cheap. And realistically, if you didn't have him at the start and you don't have him now, you have to get in because his price is only going up and up and up. And you're slowly going to not be able to afford drivers like Verstappen or Perez if you don't bring him in. So please bring him in as soon as you can because he's getting you consistent points and it shows because he's third. Well done, Alonso, this season. We get on to Lewis Hamilton, 23.8 million, hasn't changed in price. Again, sort of like Alonso, he's going to get you around 20 points, but difference is Alonso could get you much more than that, like 30 to 40 sometimes. But it seems like the most Hamilton's going to get you is 30 points because he got 29 points in Australia. He got 19 points in Baku, which isn't bad, but it's not worth 23.8 million. He's still on the bad list. Then on to Carlos Sainz, who it seems like he's starting to pick up a bit now. The Ferrari boys are starting to get a groove on. As you can see, in Baku, he got 21 points, and it was from him coming 5th, qualifying 4th, and then sprint 5th. So pretty consistent from him. So he lost -1 race position point, but that's not too much. And realistically, for 17.2 million, he is a great differential. Still wouldn't bring him in, but Ferraris are on the rise. If you can afford Carlos Sainz, I would definitely bring him in. Now, on to George Russell, the second Mercedes driver. Now, he got you 25 points in Baku. Pretty good for 18.6 million, only 21% picked, and I can see why. Again, I just don't trust it because considering the only reason he got those points was because he got fastest lap of 10 points. He's not going to get that every weekend, not going to lie. He's not going to have a chance to pit and then go for it. He also got quite a few positions gained because he started in 11th. Again, he's not going to have that all the time. So Russell got very lucky this weekend for the points he got. So Russell is still going on my bad list. He's too expensive, and it looks like the Ferrari boys are a better option around that value range. Then onto Pierre Gasly, who, oh my God, I literally said, yeah, it's the Zach curse, okay? I remember after Australia, I was like, oh, look at me. I told everyone to get rid of him. And guess what? 1 point. Everyone should have got rid of him. And then it's like he's watching my bloody videos. 17 points in Baku's ridiculous. And it's just from overtakes again, so it's pretty lucky, but man, what the fuck? 8.1 million, he's still too expensive for me. I'm still keeping him on the bad list because he's not worth what you get out of him. And it will show, trust me, by summer, you'll see why you should not have this guy in your team. And another reason is because of the guy underneath him. Lance Stroll, 32% picked, up 0.1 million since Baku. He's got 18 points in Azerbaijan, which is very good. And realistically, now you might be going, but Zach, Pierre Gasly's above Lance Stroll. What's all this about? And Stroll only got 1 more point more than him. Well, yes, if you just look at the points without the DNF, it's consistent. Realistically, he should be on about 60 points, and that's 16 points more than Pierre Gasly is. It's a no-brainer, and I really think he is the better option because he's cheaper, and that Aston Martin is more consistently in the top 10. So keep Lance Stroll, everybody. Then onto Kevin Magnussen, 16 points, great race for him. Again, I still wouldn't bring him in because he's too pricey, and I believe it was just a one-off because as you can see from his qualifying position, he got 18th, and all of his bonuses were from overtaking. Now, again, I might be a bit of a hypocrite here because that's how Zhou gets it, but Zhou was being consistent with it, if you know what I mean. Now, this is just a one-off, and for 6.6 million, say he does it next weekend, I'll put him into the good list, but for now, he's still in the bad list. There's one more driver that I'd like to talk about before I get onto, I'm going to split into the good and bad for the lower people, because then it is literally just a pick and choose of who you want. Now, Charles Leclerc, 21.2 million, up 0.1 million, 29 points in Baku. Wow, that's a great load of points. Well done to him. Obviously, we had minus 11 points in Bahrain, minus 15 points in Australia, which has been really hurting him, and that's why he looks so low on the season points. Now, once he gets consistently getting these points, he will be like Carlos Sainz. Now, I still think Carlos Sainz is a better option just because he's been more consistent this season. But if Ferrari are doing the trend I think they're doing at the minute, and they don't troll, it's a no-brainer. Charles Leclerc is in the good list. Now, on to the final bit of the drivers, where I will literally just dump them into the good and bad list very quickly. Zhou Guan Yu, minus 10. He had a DNF. It's a shame, but I still stand by my boy. 15 points in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia 6, Australia 15. I give him one more race weekend. Obviously, he's dropped in value, but trust me, he will bounce back. He's still in the good list. Lando Norris, 11.1 million. Too expensive, 0 points in Azerbaijan. It speaks for itself. He's on the bad list. Valtteri Bottas, same thing as Lando Norris, minus 1 points in Baku. Australia 12, Bahrain 13, which is decent, but he's too inconsistent for a 7.6 million driver. 20% picked, it's not worth it. He's on the bad list. Then on to Nico Hülkenberg. 2 points in Baku, 11 points in Australia, 1 point in Saudi Arabia, minus 1 point in Bahrain. For 4 million, he's still a good option if you want someone cheap. Now, the problem with Hülkenberg is it seems like his qualifying is better than his race, so you have to be careful about that. So he is on the lower end of my good list, but purely because of his price. And if you say you want to bring in one of Ferrari boys, and you might need to drop to someone like at this price range, he's still on my good list. Then on to Yuki Tsunoda, steer clear of AlphaTauri. I'm actually going to quickly do Nick De Vries as well. Steer clear of both of them. They are not worth it at the minute. That AlphaTauri is in shambles. Same with the man I'm on to next. Oscar Piastri, 6.8 million, 8 points in Baku. He's actually had a decent run of form, 16 points and 8 points. But again, he's in a McLaren. He's 6.8 million. He's too expensive. He's on the bad list. Then onto Esteban Ocon, 9.2 million. Again, too expensive. 7 points in Azerbaijan. Just not enough for 9.2 million. When for 0.1 million less, you could have Alonso. 10% picked, there's a reason for it. Don't go near him, he's on the bad list. Then on to Logan Sargent. Again, minus 20 because he did not classify for the race on the sprint. It's a shame, but again, for 3.7 million, I still think it's worth a shout like the Hulkenberg if you need to bring in a Charles Leclerc or Carlos Sainz to give you an extra boost. So I still put him in the good list purely because of his value, but be careful because realistically I'm only putting him there so that you can afford to get a better driver elsewhere. Then onto the final driver with minus 17 points, Alex Albon. Again, steer clear, 5.2 million, too expensive. Realistically, unless a driver's less than 4.5 million, I'd say, and they're constantly getting a few points, I would only give them a good list. But if they're more than 5 million and they're not actually getting you more than 15 points consistently throughout the weekend, it's not worth it. So steer clear of Alex Albon. Now, let's move on to if I will be using any chips or if you should. Now, we're going to Miami this weekend. I haven't heard any news yet about any penalties or anything. So again, like always, make sure to wait until literally an hour before qualifying, or even sooner if you can, but I wouldn't risk the website just in case it's a bit buggy. But realistically, you only want to be using your extra DRS if there's a penalty, no negative if you've seen maybe an FP1, FP2, FP3 that the car you have, one of your teams, is just a bit unreliable, but say you still want them. Then for autopilot, I think this is actually a really good option at the minute, and I might be using it this weekend. Because recently, like I said with Verstappen and Perez, they have been flip-flopping on who has been better. Now, I still probably will wait until a penalty, because realistically, I'll use a DRS the first time I see a penalty, then I'll use an autopilot the next time I see a penalty, and then I'll keep Limitless and Wildcard fine for now, because I don't think you need them for Miami, unless you really want to go balls to the wall with the Limitless and bring in the Ferrari boys. But again, like I said, I think it's a bit too early for Ferrari, especially even when you don't have a cost cut, because just wait a little bit. Wait until you've seen 2 or 3 good races of 4th or 5th or 3rd and 4th, you know, that sort of area, then go for it. So I think that about sums up the chips for Miami. Now, let's move on to the league. Now, as you can see, I've actually dropped down to 40th in this league, and I'm top 250k in the world. Still, I've not had the best start of the season, but hey, we crack on. Still excited for the rest of the season. Now, obviously, you've got the top boys of Ferrari Nice, Benji's F1 team, Valkirk FRT, Deep F1 team, Rivaldi HV F1 team, Notalan, shout out to you. You commented on my video, thank you very much. Here's your shout out, well done. We'll have a quick look at your team, and wow, great team. Again, like for me, Guan Yu Zhou just screwed us over, which is a bit of a shame, but hey, what could we do? And then I'll have a look at Ferrari Nice's team, and he had Albon in. Again, I wouldn't keep Albon, but realistically, it's worked for you this weekend, so hey, what am I to say? But yeah, great team, and well done to the top 5 and to the top 6. Obviously, thank you all so much for joining this league. It's such a privilege to have 58 teams in this league already. It's just an amazing feeling, and thank you all so much. And realistically, I think that about sums it up, because I will not be changing my team for Miami until I hear any news on FP1 and see where the teams are really at. And of course, I will be saying what I think about this on Twitter. Subscribe to my Twitter and you can see if I am deciding to change my team up a little bit, because that's where I'll put it. But yeah, anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Have a good day. Love you lots. Bye.